The man in the silk suit didn't know that the old woman he just spat on owned the ground beneath his feet. Wait until you hear what happens next. This will blow your mind. Jake Sterling stood in the center of the Riverside Plaza Mall, surrounded by a crowd of eager shoppers and curious onlookers. His voice boomed across the marble floors as he pointed his finger at the small, hunched figure sitting quietly on a bench near the fountain. The old woman wore a faded blue dress that had seen better days, and her gray hair was tied back in a simple bun. Her weathered hands clutched a small paper bag. "This is exactly what's wrong with this city," Jake announced, his face red with anger. His designer watch caught the light as he gestured wildly. "People like her, taking up space, making this beautiful mall look like a homeless shelter." The crowd grew larger. Some people pulled out their phones. Others whispered to each other. But nobody moved to help the old woman, whose name was Rose. Rose sat perfectly still. Her eyes, a pale blue that seemed to hold oceans of secrets, remained fixed on the fountain in front of her. She didn't look at Jake. She didn't respond to his cruel words. She just sat there, breathing slowly, as if she had seen storms like this before and knew they would pass. But Jake wasn't finished. He had been having a terrible day. His business deal had fallen through that morning. His girlfriend had broken up with him over text. And now, seeing this old woman sitting on his favorite bench, the one where he always sat to make important phone calls, had pushed him over the edge. "Security!" Jake shouted, snapping his fingers. "Get her out of here. She probably hasn't bought a single thing. She's just loitering, making real customers uncomfortable." Two security guards approached slowly. They looked uncomfortable. The younger one, a man named Tim, recognized Rose. She came to the mall every Tuesday and Thursday. She always sat on the same bench. She never caused trouble. In fact, she was so quiet that most people didn't even notice her. "Sir," Tim said carefully, "she's not breaking any rules. Anyone can sit on the benches." Jake's face turned even redder. "Do you know who I am? I own 3 stores in this mall. I spend more money here in 1 month than she's probably seen in her entire sad life. Now do your job and remove her, or I'll make sure you're looking for a new one." The threat hung in the air like poison. Rose finally moved. She slowly turned her head and looked at Jake for the first time. Her eyes met his, and for just a second, something flickered in those pale blue depths. Something that might have been sadness, or perhaps it was pity. "Young man," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper, "you should be careful about the stones you throw. Some of them bounce back." Jake laughed. It was a cruel, harsh sound that made several people in the crowd wince. "Is that a threat? Did you all hear that? This vagrant just threatened me." He pulled out his phone. "I'm recording this. You're going viral, old lady. Let's see how you like being famous for being a public nuisance." He shoved the phone in Rose's face, filming her closely. The camera caught every wrinkle, every spot of age on her gentle features. She didn't flinch. She didn't cover her face. She simply looked into the camera with those knowing eyes. "Please leave me alone," Rose said quietly. "Or what?" Jake taunted. "You'll call your lawyer? You'll sue me? With what money? Look at you. You can barely afford that dress. You probably found it in a trash can." Something changed in the crowd. The energy shifted. People started to feel uncomfortable. This had gone too far. A few people began recording Jake instead of Rose, capturing his cruelty in high definition. A young mother with a small child tugged on Jake's sleeve. "Hey, that's enough. She's just sitting there. Leave her alone." Jake spun around. "Mind your own business. This is between me and the trash that needs to be taken out." The words hit Rose like physical blows, but still she didn't respond with anger. Instead, she slowly stood up from the bench. Her movements were stiff, the movements of someone whose bones ached from decades of hard work. She picked up her paper bag and began to walk away. But Jake wasn't done. He followed her. "That's right, shuffle away. Go back to whatever gutter you crawled out of. And don't come back to this mall. You don't belong here. This is a place for successful people, beautiful people, people who matter." Rose stopped walking. Her shoulders were shaking slightly. For a moment, everyone thought she might be crying. But when she turned around, her face was dry, calm, almost serene. "I hope you find peace, young man," she said. "I truly do, because you seem to be in a lot of pain." That somehow made Jake even angrier. He stepped closer to her, his face inches from hers. The only pain I have is having to look at you. Now get out before I have you arrested for trespassing. Tim, the security guard, had had enough. Sir, you need to back away from her. You're the one causing a disturbance now. I want your badge number, Jake snarled. You're fired. I'll make sure of it. That's when an older security guard, a man named Ray, who had worked at the mall for 20 years, stepped forward. His face was pale. His hands were trembling slightly. Mr. Sterling, Ray said, his voice shaking, I really think you should stop this. Please. Why? Is she your grandmother? Your aunt? What, do you have a thing for old homeless women? Ray shook his head. Sir, you don't understand who... I don't care who she is, Jake interrupted. She could be the Queen of England for all I care. She looks like garbage, she dresses like garbage, and I want her gone. Keep watching because what happens in the next few minutes will leave you speechless. Rose smiled then. It was a small, sad smile that made her whole face change. For just a moment, beneath the wrinkles and the simple clothes, something else showed through. Something that suggested this woman had once been powerful, beautiful, important. Goodbye, Jake Sterling, she said softly. I'll remember your name. The way she said it sent a chill through the crowd. It wasn't a threat, it was a promise. But Jake was too angry to notice. He just laughed again and turned away, waving his hand dismissively. Rose walked slowly toward the exit. The crowd parted for her. Some people looked ashamed, others looked curious. A few looked worried, though they couldn't quite say why. Tim ran after her. Ma'am, wait. I'm so sorry about what happened. Are you okay? Can I call someone for you? Rose patted his arm gently. You're a good boy, Tim. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. She reached into her paper bag and pulled out a small chocolate bar. Here. I was saving this for later, but I think you need it more than me. Tim's eyes filled with tears. He didn't take the chocolate. Instead, he said, Ma'am, please, can I at least walk you to your car? I don't drive anymore, Rose said. My eyes aren't what they used to be. I take the bus. Then let me call you a car, please. Rose shook her head. The bus is just fine. It's only 3 blocks away. I've walked much farther in my life. She left the mall slowly, her back straight despite her age. Behind her, Jake was already bragging to his friends about how he had handled the situation. He was showing them the video on his phone, laughing at Rose's quiet dignity, mocking the way she spoke. That'll teach people to respect their betters, he said loudly. These old folks think they can just go anywhere and do anything. Someone needs to put them in their place. His friends laughed along, though a few of them looked uncomfortable. One woman, Jake's business partner named Sarah, pulled him aside. Jake, that was really harsh. She was just an old woman sitting on a bench. And now she knows not to come back, Jake replied. Problem solved. Besides, it's already getting tons of views online. People love this kind of content. Justice served. Homeless person learns a lesson. It's basically free publicity for my brand. He was wrong about that. By the time he got home that evening, the video had indeed gone viral, but not in the way he expected. People weren't praising him. They were calling him cruel, mean, a bully. The comments section was filled with anger directed at him and sympathy for Rose, but Jake didn't care. He poured himself an expensive glass of wine and scrolled through the hate comments with a smile. They'll forget about this in a week, he told himself. Internet outrage never lasts. He went to bed feeling satisfied with himself. He had stood up for standards, for excellence, for the right of successful people to enjoy their spaces without being reminded that poverty and old age existed. The next morning, everything changed. Jake woke up to 17 missed calls, all from Sarah. When he called her back, she was screaming, Have you seen the news? Have you seen who that woman was? Jake, we're ruined. We're completely ruined. What are you talking about? Turn on Channel 7, now. Jake grabbed his remote and flipped to the news. There on the screen was Rose, but she wasn't sitting on a bench in a faded blue dress. She was standing in what looked like a massive office building, wearing an elegant gray suit. Her hair was professionally styled, and she was smiling at the camera. This is Rose Walker, the news anchor was saying. Many of you may recognize her from a viral video that surfaced yesterday, showing her being publicly humiliated at Riverside Plaza Mall. What her attacker didn't know was that Ms. Walker is one of the most successful real estate developers in the country, with a net worth estimated at over $2 billion. Jake dropped his phone. The news anchor continued. Ms. Walker, who retired from public life 10 years ago after her husband passed away, owns over 40 commercial properties throughout the city, including Riverside Plaza Mall itself. She also runs the Walker Foundation, which has donated hundreds of millions to homeless shelters, senior care facilities, and children's hospitals. A video clip played. Rose was being interviewed. She looked different now, confident, strong, but still kind. I like to visit my properties sometimes, Rose was saying, not as the owner, but as a regular person. It helps me understand what needs improvement, what people really need. That bench in the mall? I had it installed 5 years ago because I noticed older shoppers had nowhere to rest. I often sit there myself, just watching people go about their lives. It reminds me why I do what I do. The interviewer asked, "And what about the man who confronted you? Jake Sterling?" Rose's expression became thoughtful. "He's young. He made a mistake. We all make mistakes. But he was incredibly cruel to you. He called you garbage. He tried to have you arrested. He filmed you and mocked you online." Rose nodded slowly. "He did, and it hurt. I won't pretend it didn't, but I've learned something in my 78 years of life. Cruelty usually comes from pain. That young man is suffering somehow. I could see it in his eyes. That's very gracious of you, Ms. Walker. But many people are calling for consequences. They want him held accountable. You won't believe what she does next. This is where it gets really good." Rose was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I've spent my entire life building things, creating spaces where people can work, shop, live their lives. I don't want to destroy anyone. But I also can't ignore what happened. It revealed something troubling, not just about Mr. Sterling, but about our society, about how we treat people who we think are beneath us." Jake felt sick. His hands were shaking. His phone started ringing again. It was his landlord. "Jake, I need to talk to you about your stores. I just got a call from the building ownership. They're not renewing your leases." "What? Why? We have contracts." "The contracts have a clause about conduct and reputation. They're invoking it." "I'm sorry, Jake. There's nothing I can do." Before Jake could respond, another call came through. Then another. Then another. By noon, he had lost all 3 of his store leases. His business partners had all quit. His social media accounts had been flooded with thousands of angry messages. Major news outlets were calling him for comment, and his lawyer was telling him that several companies were already pulling out of deals with him. But the worst was yet to come. That afternoon, Jake received a letter. It was delivered by courier to his apartment. Inside was an invitation. "Mr. Sterling, you are invited to attend a meeting at Walker Industries headquarters tomorrow at 2 p.m. Ms. Rose Walker would like to speak with you personally. Please come alone." Jake's first instinct was to ignore it, to run, to hide. But he knew that would only make things worse. So the next day, wearing his best suit, feeling like a man walking to his own execution, Jake arrived at Walker Industries. The building was stunning, 50 floors of glass and steel towering over the city. Inside, the lobby was filled with art and light. Everything spoke of success, power, money beyond imagining. A young assistant met Jake at the entrance. She was polite but cold. She led him to a private elevator that opened directly into Rose's office on the top floor. The office was enormous. Windows looked out over the entire city. But what caught Jake's attention was the woman sitting behind the desk. Rose looked different here, powerful, in control. This was her domain, and you could feel it in every inch of the space. "Sit down, Mr. Sterling," Rose said. Her voice was stronger now than it had been at the mall, more confident. Jake sat. He couldn't speak. His throat was too tight. Rose folded her hands on her desk. "Do you know why I asked you here?" Jake shook his head. "I want to tell you a story," Rose said. 50 years ago, I was a lot like you. Young, ambitious. I had just started my first business, a small cleaning company. I worked 16 hours a day, scrubbing floors, washing windows, emptying trash cans. I was invisible to most people, just the help. someone to ignore. She stood up and walked to the window. One day I was cleaning the office of a very powerful man, a real estate developer named Charles Montgomery. He was on the phone and he didn't see me come in. Or maybe he did see me, but I wasn't important enough to acknowledge. As I cleaned, he talked about a property deal. He was planning to buy a building and tear it down to build luxury condos. The building was where my family lived, where dozens of other families lived. Good people, working people. Rose turned to face Jake. I spoke up. I shouldn't have. I was just the cleaning lady, but I told him that real people lived there, that they would have nowhere to go. Do you know what he said to me? Jake shook his head again. He said, people like you are a dime a dozen. You'll find somewhere else to live. In fact, you're fired. Get out of my office. Then he had security throw me out, literally. They grabbed me and dragged me through the lobby while everyone watched. I had never felt so small, so worthless. Rose walked back to her desk. That night, I made a decision. I would never let anyone make me feel that way again. I would build something, create something, become someone who couldn't be thrown away. It took me 30 years, but I bought that man's company, every single property he owned. Do you know what I did with them? What? Jake whispered. I turned them into affordable housing, community centers, spaces where people like the old me could have dignity. And that building he wanted to tear down, it's still standing. I renovated it, made it beautiful. The families who lived there got to stay. Most of them are still there today. Stay with me because the twist coming up will change everything you thought you knew. She sat down and looked directly at Jake. I'm not telling you this story to make you feel bad, Mr. Sterling. I'm telling you because I see myself in you. The anger, the insecurity, the need to prove you're better than someone else. I'm not like you, Jake said, his voice breaking. You're amazing. You built an empire. I'm just a failure who lost everything in one day. No, Rose said firmly. You're a young man who made a terrible mistake, but mistakes don't have to define us. They can transform us if we let them. Jake felt tears running down his face. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was cruel to you. I humiliated you. I was everything wrong with the world, and I don't know how to fix it. Rose reached across the desk and did something unexpected. She took Jake's hand. You fix it by doing better, by being better, by learning that every person you meet, no matter how they look or what they wear, has a story, has value, has dignity that should never be trampled on. I've lost everything, Jake sobbed. My business, my reputation, my future. Have you lost your mind, your hands, your ability to learn and grow? Jake looked up at her confused. Mr. Sterling, I'm not here to destroy you. Despite what happened, I believe people deserve second chances. So I'm going to make you an offer. You can take it or leave it. She pulled out a folder and slid it across the desk. This is a job offer, not at Walker Industries. At the Walker Foundation, you would work with our homeless outreach program, minimum wage for the first year. You would help serve meals, organize donations, talk with people who have nothing, learn their stories, understand their lives. Jake stared at the papers, unable to believe what he was hearing. Why? He asked. Why would you help me after what I did? Rose smiled, that same gentle, sad smile from the mall. Because someone helped me once. After Charles Montgomery destroyed my life, I wanted to give up. I was sleeping in my car, trying to figure out how to feed my daughter. Then a man named Mr. Peterson, who owned a small grocery store, gave me a job. He didn't have to. I had no references, no education, nothing. But he saw something in me worth saving. He taught me about business, about integrity, about treating people with kindness no matter what. When he died, he left me his store. That's how my empire started, with one act of kindness from someone who believed in second chances. Jake opened the folder with trembling hands. Inside was a contract, a chance, a way forward. I don't deserve this, he whispered. No, Rose agreed. You don't. But none of us deserve the grace we're given in life. We just have to be brave enough to accept it and wise enough to pass it on. Jake looked at Rose, this incredible woman who had every right to crush him and had instead chosen to lift him up. And he understood something for the first time. Real power wasn't about putting people down. It was about raising them up. Real strength wasn't about making others feel small. It was about making them feel valued. "I'll take it," he said. "And I promise you, I'll spend every day proving that your faith in me wasn't wasted." "I believe you," Rose said. "And Jake, that video you took of me? It's still online. I want it to stay there. Not as a mark of shame for you, but as a reminder for everyone. A reminder that we never know who we're talking to. That kindness costs nothing but means everything, and that the people we think are invisible might be the most important people in our lives." Don't go anywhere. The ending will hit you right in the heart. 6 months later, Jake stood in the same mall where everything had changed. He was wearing jeans and a Walker Foundation t-shirt. He was handing out sandwiches to homeless people, talking with them, learning their names, hearing their stories. Every Tuesday and Thursday, he saw Rose. She still came to sit on her bench, but now Jake sat with her. They would talk about the people they had helped that week, the lives they had changed, the hope they had given. One day, a young businessman walked past them. He looked at Jake with disdain, probably wondering why someone was wasting their time talking to an old woman on a bench. Jake smiled. He remembered being that person, that angry, insecure person who thought success meant stepping on others. "You want to know the secret to real success?" Jake asked Rose. "What's that?" she replied, her eyes twinkling. "It's sitting right here, on this bench, with someone who saw the worst in me and chose to believe in the best. Someone who taught me that power isn't about control. It's about compassion." Rose patted his hand. "You've learned well, Jake. You've learned very well." As the sun set over the city, casting long shadows across the mall, Jake thought about how one moment of cruelty had led to a lifetime of lessons. He thought about how close he had come to destroying everything good in himself. And he thought about the quiet old woman who had saved him, not with revenge, but with grace. Because that's what real power looks like. Not a silk suit or a loud voice or the ability to make someone feel small. Real power is having every reason to destroy someone and choosing to build them instead. Real power is sitting on a bench in a faded blue dress and changing the world one kind moment at a time. And now Jake knew the truth that Rose had known all along. We never know who we're standing next to. That person we ignore might be the one who changes our life. That stranger we dismiss might be the teacher we've been searching for. So he made a promise to himself. Every person he met would matter. Every interaction would count. Every moment would be a chance to choose kindness over cruelty, compassion over contempt. Because in the end, that's all we really have. The choices we make, the way we treat people, the legacy we leave behind. And Jake wanted his legacy to honor the woman who had taught him everything that mattered, the woman who had owned the ground beneath his feet and taught him that true wealth has nothing to do with money and everything to do with how we lift each other up. If this story touched your heart, drop a comment below telling me about a time someone showed you unexpected kindness. And remember, you never know who you're standing next to. Treat everyone with respect. Thanks for watching.